This video is going to take you through some of the processes for this next project, Inspirational Ransom Note. So you should have picked some quotes that you can use for this project. And my suggestion is to find a quote that has about anywhere from 10 to 15 words. You don't want anything too long, okay? You want it to be kind of short, not too short. So like I said, 10, 15 words, completely fine. So you're going to pick one from here. And I'm going to go with, the person who can bring the spirit of laughter into a room is indeed blessed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 letters. 15 words. A lot of short words. It's going to be perfect. Here is the sample again of what you're going to be doing, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut out individual letters to make up words. We're going to join those words together in a group. And then once we have all the words set up, we're going to figure out how we want the arrangement of these words to be. There's a couple things you're going to think about as you're working on this, especially at the beginning, is how do you want the letters to look? Do you want them to be kind of crooked like all of these are, or do you want them to be straight up and down? You know, it's up to you how you want the design to be, but once you establish how you want the arrangement to be, you want it to be pretty consistent moving forward. For example, I have a kind of like a very sort of randomness to the way that the letters are arranged, and I have that randomness in the entire design. Okay, so you should have also have gone to your Google Classroom, and you should have downloaded the letters as a JPEG file, and you should have put that in your folder. So we're going to start with that. We're going to open up from the computer, and we're going to open up that letter image. Okay, this is where we're going to be drawing most of those letters from. It's going to work out where after a while you're going to run out of letters. Like, if you can't use the same letters more than once, and if you do, you have to change the color. But towards the end of the project, you know, when we're well into it, I'm going to show you guys how you can make your own letters. But we're going to, for the meantime, at the beginning, we're going to use these. We're also going to need a new image. So not only are we opening up the letters JPEG, but we're also going to develop a new page. And we're going to call this one Ransom. And we're going to change the inches and the height and the width to 10 inches wide. And the height's going to be 8 inches tall. And the DPI is going to be 300 pixels per inch. If you prefer to do pixels, make the pixels 3000 and the height 2400. Then you hit create. Alright, so this is the page where we're going to be bringing in these letters. We're going to be bringing in the letters one by one. To start, I want to talk about the zoom. So if you have a way that you can zoom in, possibly you'll be able to do this using the dial on your mouse. But we're going to be zooming in quite a bit. Now, if you want to just use the zoom tool, this zooms in, this zooms out. You want to fit the area, you go like this. There are shortcuts. If you hit the command and the plus sign, it zooms in. If you hit the command button and the minus sign, it zooms out. If you want it to fit on the page, it's command 0. Okay, but we will be zooming in. I'm going to zoom into the first letter of the first word, which is the. So here's my T's. Just because it's the first letter doesn't mean that you have to use capital letters. You can use whatever letters that you want, whether they're script, capital, lowercase. So you're just going to pick one. I'm going to pick this red T right here. So I'm zoomed in pretty good, and I have it where I can see the edges, and I'm going to use the lasso tool. You want to make sure you're using the polygonal lasso select, and you are going to be selecting a rectangle. You're going to click on the corner, and you can see it kind of sticks. You're going to put the cursor right on the other corner, like that, and click. The other corner, and click. The other corner, click. And the other corner, and click. Now that we have it selected, we're going to make a copy of this. So you can do this a couple of different ways. You can hit Command C to copy it and Command V to paste it, and you can see that it made a copy. There's another way that you can do it. I'm going to hit Command Z and undo this. Okay. Another way is if you have it selected, there's a way that you can duplicate a layer, is Command J. So if you hit Command J, excuse me, select that again. If you hit Command J without making your selection first, it's just going to duplicate the entire layer. But since I have this selection, it's only going to duplicate the selection from that layer. Command J. Okay. If I make the background invisible, you can see that this is what is in that layer 1. I'm now going to take this layer and I'm going to move it. I want to move it into this PSD. So I'm going to drag it onto the tab and then I'm going to bring it down. And you can see that it's there. I can make it bigger. I can make it smaller. If I hold down the Shift button as I do this, it should hold the proportion. And you don't want to smash it too much. So if you unlink this, you don't want this to look too smashed. So I do suggest when you change the size to hold the Shift button or to make sure that that link is checked. And it'll hold that proportion. So I'm just making it really big for the time being. Now I'm going to grab the other letter, and it's going to be the letter H. It's right over here. It's one of these. So I'm going to not use the red because I already used red. I'll use maybe this blue one, or it doesn't have to be a lowercase. It could be a capital letter. I'm going to grab this one right here. So again, polygonal. Select the corner, click the corner, click the corner, click the corner, click the corner. Now I'm going to duplicate the layer, but notice I'm on layer 1. The only thing in this layer 1 is this T, and I'm selecting over here. So I'm just doing this to just show you, you got to be aware of what layer you're on. So if I hit Command J, it's telling me that the copy area is empty, and that's absolutely the truth because I'm on the wrong layer. So I need to make sure before I make a copy, I want to go on the background. Command J, I made that copy of the H, there we go. Use the Move tool, bring it up into that tab, bring it down. I'm going to get this the right size. I'm going to hold down the Shift button to keep the proportion. I'm not really worried about the size right now or the location. I'm going to take care of that in a minute. I'm going to grab one more letter, and that's going to be the letter E. I'm going to zoom in. This time I'll just go with this E right here. So again, select. I'm going to go to the background, Command J. Move, slide it up to the tab, bring it down. So I did this 3 times. You're going to be doing this multiple times for the project. So you'll be very, very good. By the time you get halfway through your quote, you're going to be very, very good at this. Okay. Now, it's a good sort of housekeeping kind of thing that when you have these layers, I would go ahead and delete it. So you can drag these into the trash can, or you can just click on it and hit the delete button on your keyboard. I would just clear them out every once in a while, just so you're not getting too confused. You don't want to build up all those layers. So once you have your first word, go back to this letters page and delete all those layers you don't need. Okay, so now you need to decide on how you want the arrangement to be. Do you want the letters to be all sort of lined up on the bottom? Do you want them to be, you know, lined up from the top? Do you want it to be kind of staggered a little bit? You know, how do you want the arrangement to be? So once you kind of pick your arrangement, then you're going to merge these layers together. So a couple things you can do. You can have them overlapping. You can have them crooked. That's okay. And you're going to create sort of a nice little composition. I personally like when they're kind of crooked. And you can kind of smash them a little bit, squish them a bit if you'd like. But you don't want to squish it up too much. You want it to still look pretty good. Alright, so once you have them established how you want them to be arranged, you want to merge these layers together. To merge them, here's the three. You're going to go to the top layer, hit Command E, and it will merge down. Okay? You just want the three being merged together. There's a couple ways you can merge layers, but that just seems to be the easiest. So if you go to Layer and you see here Merge Down, here's the shortcut, Command E. So once you have your letters all established, or the letters in the word all established, you can just put it off to the side because we're going to be organizing the composition of the whole poster after you have all of your words in there. Okay? So as you're working with these letters and you're deciding on how you want these words to be laid out, there's a couple of decisions that you could make as you go along as well. Not only getting these in the rhythm that you were interested in making these, but if you wanted to switch out one of these letters, or if you wanted to change the color. So let's say I have these laid out like this. Now, before you go ahead and merge them together, you might want to decide on whether or not you want all these letters to be here. If you're thinking about switching out any of the letters, you should do that prior to merging the layers together. Also, decide on if you wanted to change the color. Now, I see that there's two greens, and I might be interested to change out one of these. So it's pretty easy, straightforward. Pick the layer that you want to change color. Go to Image, Image Adjustments, and Hue Saturation. And the shortcut is Command U. If you drag the hue, you can change the color. You can also adjust the saturation, like if the color is too bright. So I know these colors aren't all like neon and bright. So if you wanted to tone it down, you can do that. Also, if you wanted to hit...
Good morning.
Sorry about that. I got sidetracked. Alright, so if you hit Colorize, that will make it monochromatic. So that might be a look that you want. But just remember, you can always adjust the saturation and even adjust the lightness a little bit to make it the way that you want. And then, if that's the way that you want it, you are going to make sure that these layers are all stacked one on top of another. Go to the top layer, hit Command E, and you will merge them down. Alright? Another fast way that you could change the color is if you go to that layer, I'm going to work with the eye, and you can actually, there's one real fast thing called invert in the shortcuts, Command I. So if you hit Command I, make sure you're on the correct layer, it will invert the color. So if I do it to the P, you see that it inverts it. So it's a quick way to do a variation. And then even if you wanted to even take the invert and change the color of the invert, you can do that. And that's another fast way that you could make the letter more unique. So you can see that at this point I have all of the words laid out except for the very, very last one. And it makes life easier than having each individual letter on its own layer. It's just a lot nicer than to move these around. So before I get too caught up in this, I want to bring two things to your attention this time. First of all, if you go to your layers window here, you can see I've replaced the title, layer 10, layer 11, to actually the name of the word that it represents. So to do that, all you have to do is select, double click on the word, layer 8 on the title, and you can change the name. So I'll do this again. You can double click on it, and then you can change it to the word that it represents. Okay? It's a good idea, good rule of thumb, and then you can kind of go through your quote and make sure you have all of the people or all the letters and all all the words for your quote, and it will be easier to identify them. Okay. The other thing I want to show you is if you need punctuation, so you'll need at least a period or a question mark at the end of the word, or what I'm going to show you here, it would be the same thing if you wanted to change out a letter. Now let's say that I don't want to use this E, and I've run out of letters here. I've used them all up. So we're going to just put this aside, and I'm going to make some room. So what you're going to do is you're going to get two layers here. You're going to get a rectangle, and you're going to get a type layer, which is going to be the letter that you want to use. So you can do either one first. It doesn't matter. You're going to be needing two layers. So I'm going to bring these layers all the way to the top, and I'm going to add a new layer. So I go to the top layer, and I click on the new layer button. So it's going to be layer 15, and I'm going to make a rectangle. Doesn't matter what size. You can always change it later. I'm then going to pick a color that I want the rectangle to be. So what I'm talking about is the rectangle around each of the letters. Okay, you can see none of them are white. They're always some sort of lighter color. Some of them, you have a bright orange. Over here you have it real dark, almost like a black. So for the most part, though, they're all kind of like plain taupey kind of beigeish kind of colors and gray. So I'm going to pick that color by going to the color picker. And I can even sample some that are already existing. If I click on a background on one of these, you can see that it's choosing those. Or you can select your own. You can change it later. I'm going to use the paint bucket, and I'm going to dump that color in. So that is layer 15. It's that square. I'm going to deselect the square. Now, I need a type. I need a letter, and I knew I was going to do the letter E. So you're going to hit the type tool. No need to make a new layer, because if I'm selecting the type tool, it's going to give me a new layer, and you'll see it appear right here. So I click, and there's my new text layer. Up in here, your properties, make it as large as you possibly can, because you want to be able to see it. I'm already zoomed in, and I have it set pretty large. And over here is the type of font. Okay, and you got a bunch to choose from. You can see it goes on forever. Okay, so as long as I have this blinking cursor and I'm on the type tool, I'm going to pick a color for my font, and it's right up here. It's not going to be down here. It's going to be up here. So maybe I want to pick something that's kind of close to being black. So I go to the size, I pick the color. Now I'm going to type. I'm going to go with an uppercase E, because the other two E's in this, the other one is a lowercase. So I'm going to go with a uppercase E. So as I'm on here, this is where I can change the font, but I need to make sure it's highlighted. So again, I'm on the type tool. It can only work if I'm on the type tool. I'm going to highlight the letter. And you can see now, as I select some, go all the way to the bottom. So you can select different types, and you just find one that you think might be cool. Don't worry about the size, because you're going to change that in a little bit. I'll try out a few of them until something is interesting. I like this one. I like it. That's nice and fat. So I commit to it. It's now that I'm going to get the rectangle to be the right size for the E. So I'm going to meet somewhere in the middle. I'm going to get this E a little bit bigger. You can always work larger. I'm I'm also going to put it in the corner because I want it to be really, really close. Then I'm going to go to layer 15, and I am going to, if it's going to let me, let's see, I got to grab the handle out there somewhere. Commit to it. Yeah, that's a little tricky. So I'm going to get this to be the right size, like so. I'm also going to unlock so it's going to be able to move freely. Just like that. There we go. And, you know, once you get it the way that you want it to look, whether you make the letter bigger or the rectangle smaller to fit, you can commit. It's now that we're going to combine these two layers together so they're going to move around in one unit. So you can go to the top layer, hit Command E, and then you can merge them together like that. So that's going to work for if you wanted to do punctuation, commas, apostrophes, numbers, that kind of thing. So again, real quick, you're going to add a new layer, dump a color into it. You can see it becomes really big. You have to kind of click on it. And then we are going to go to the type layer, or the type tool rather, and you're going to enter, make sure you have a color that's a good contrast in color. You're going to type in the character that you're interested in putting there. That's a weird question mark. So you can find a different font. So you find one that you like, get them together, merge them together. After you do that, it's at this point, before you merge them together, if you wanted to change the color of either one of those. I'm going to invert the color first. Or I just inverted the question mark. That might be kind of neat. And then you can go to layer 16, Command U, and you can change the color of the square as well. Once you get them where you want them to, how you want them to look, get it really, really tight, squished in there, and then you're going to merge these two layers together by going to the top layer and hitting Command E. Alright, that's it.